Hello, Cool family. Feel free to like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on everything about Barcelona. In this video, we will discuss a massive transfer move for Barcelona. But before that, we have other topics that are also very important for our beloved club. Let's move on to the first one. The transfer market is a jungle of movements, strategies, and negotiations where the decisions made can have a direct impact on the immediate future of clubs and players. In this scenario, there is a case that is gaining relevance and which, far from being a simple rumor, has become a real confrontation between two clubs, Barcelona and Villarreal. The young talent Alberto Molero, an offensive midfielder from Las Palmas, has become the center of attention for several European teams. However, and despite Villarreal's approach and progress in the operation, Barcelona has not given up. On the contrary, it continues to fight for his transfer with the firm conviction that the player fits perfectly into the project being built under the direction of Hansi Flick. In recent days, Villarreal has taken a firm step in the Molero operation, with the club from Castellón on the verge of concluding an agreement with the player's entourage. The sale of Alex Baena to Atlético de Madrid is the final piece that needs to fall into place for the operation to materialize. As with the departure of the midfielder, the Yellow Submarine would free up the necessary economic and sporting space to afford Molero. This move by Villarreal is not new. In fact, during the winter market of last season, his transfer had already been attempted, but the operation did not come to fruition at that time. Now, with more space and a clear opportunity, Villarreal is determined to finalize the acquisition of one of the most promising talents in the league, a player who this season has demonstrated his quality and maturity despite his youth, scoring 6 goals and providing 1 assist. However, and despite the progress of this move, in Barcelona, they are not sitting idly by. Beyond the fact that Villarreal seems to have the first option, Barcelona's intention remains clear. The club continues to fight for Molero, who is seen as a key talent for the future, a player who could bring a lot to the style of play sought by Hansi Flick. Molero, at just 21 years old, is considered a gem for his vision of the game, his ability to associate, and his skill in unbalancing in the final third of the field. Barcelona, with its history of betting on young talents, cannot afford to let another club take a player with such projection, especially when this player has shown a clear interest in being part of the Cool family. The fact that Molero is not considering a move to Arab football, despite having received tempting offers, is a clear sign that the player prefers to stay on the European scene. And in this context, Barcelona is undoubtedly the best option to continue developing and demonstrating his potential. Barcelona not only represents the dream of every footballer for its history and prestige, but is also a club that has repeatedly demonstrated that it values and promotes young talents, something that Molero could leverage to grow to the fullest. The possibility of working with Hansi Flick, a coach who has demonstrated his ability to integrate young talents into a collective project, is undoubtedly one of the reasons why Molero sees Barcelona as his ideal destination. Villarreal's offer for Molero, according to reports, is around €30 million, a price that seems appropriate given the player's potential. However, Barcelona has its own assets to compete in the negotiation. The Cool club has the ability to match or exceed this offer if it decides to. And the price is not an insurmountable obstacle for a club that, despite the economic difficulties it is going through, remains one of the giants of Europe. What is really at stake here is the player's future and how it aligns with Barcelona's sporting interests. Molero is exactly the type of footballer that fits the profile Hansi Flick wants for the midfield. Young, technical, versatile, capable of playing between the lines, assisting, and unbalancing. Barcelona cannot afford to let another club take advantage of this opportunity and take the player without doing everything possible to sign him. In this sense, the interest in Molero is not just a matter of money but also of future vision. Barcelona knows that in its game model, the midfield is a central axis. Players like Molero, who can associate with others and offer a more open and creative vision of the game, are key to success. Over the years, Barcelona has been known for its ability to control the game from the center of the field, and Molero has the necessary tools to be part of this tradition. If he managed to finalize his transfer, the player could integrate perfectly alongside other young talents on the team, forming a base of players who would not only be the backbone of the team in the present but also in the future. It is understandable that Villarreal has taken the lead in the operation, as they have an interest in strengthening their team with a young talent of great projection. Villarreal is a club that knows how to develop talented players and give them the necessary space to grow. However, Barcelona's proposal is different and not just in economic terms. Molero has clearly indicated that for him, joining a club of Barcelona's stature would be the logical next step in his career. The player does not see the same level of exposure or growth opportunities at Villarreal that Barcelona could offer, and that is why his desire is clear: to play at the camp. Barcelona's role in this matter must be proactive. The club must clearly show that it is ready to compete in the market for quality players, especially when it comes to talents who can be the foundation of an elite team in the future. Molero represents one of those opportunities that, if not seized, could be regretted in the years to come. It is true that Villarreal is advancing in the operation, but Barcelona has the ability to make a big move and show that it is not willing to give in this type of battle. The CUL supporters must also get involved in this process. If Molero is really the type of player who fits into Flick's project, now is the time for Barcelona supporters to show their support for the transfer. It would not be incredible to see a young talent like Molero develop at the camp, being part of the next generation of stars who will lead Barcelona back to the top of European football. Now, the ball is in the club's court. Is Barcelona ready to make a decisive move in this case, or will it let another club take Molero? The supporters have the right to know the club's intentions and to demand that it act with the necessary agility to carry out what could be one of the most interesting transfers of the next season. The second piece of news concerns a very important decision for our club. Barcelona, in its quest to regain the level of excellence that has historically characterized it in European football, finds itself at a crucial moment regarding the construction of its squad under the direction of German coach Flick. Although the team has a solid structure, it is evident that certain areas of the field need reinforcement to confidently face the demanding competition, both in Spain and Europe. One of the positions that has caught the attention of the club's sports management and Hansi Flick himself is that of right back. After the recent match against Inter Milan, where the CUL team showed certain weaknesses on this flank, it became clear that this is one of the areas most in need of immediate reinforcement if Barcelona wants to remain competitive. The match against Inter Milan was undoubtedly a wake-up call. The Italian team, with its great offensive capacity and play on the wings, showed how superiority in this area of the field can make the difference in high-level matches. In particular, Dan Friese, Inter's right back, easily overran his flank, creating several dangerous chances and showing how dribbling, speed, and power can be decisive in building plays. In this regard, Hansi Flick has emphasized that, although Barcelona has a very competitive team, one of the most evident gaps is the absence of a right back with the necessary qualities to compete at the highest level, particularly in the Champions League. The German coach has openly expressed that if Barcelona aspires to fight for important titles, it must have a right back capable of meeting the demands of the European elite. Although the team has used improvised solutions in this area, such as Ronald Araujo and Eric Garcia, these alternatives have not been sufficient. Araujo, although a great defender, is not a fullback by trade and therefore does not have the same offensive projection as a pure fullback. On the other hand, Eric Garcia has played on the flank, but his profile does not quite match the needs that Hansi Flick is looking for in this area of the field. Therefore, the search for a reliable right back has become an undeniable priority for Barcelona's near future. In the context of this need, the name of Jeremy Fron, current player of Bayern Leverkusen, has gained momentum in recent months. The 22-year-old right back is one of the most promising footballers in the Bundesliga, distinguished by his speed, dribbling, and ability to join the attack with great danger. Fron has been a key player for his team in recent seasons and has carved out a place among the best fullbacks in Europe. His projection has attracted the attention of several important clubs, and Barcelona has not been indifferent to his talent. In fact, the Dutch right back has become one of the main targets to strengthen this position, which, as mentioned earlier, is one of the great gaps in the CUL team. However, the operation for Fron will not be simple. Bayern Leverkusen has increased the player's price due to his growing value in the market, which has complicated negotiations. Moreover, the competition for his transfer is fierce, with teams like Manchester United and other major European clubs interested in his signature. This has meant that Barcelona, although with a clear intention to incorporate Fron, faces serious economic and competitive difficulties. The Catalan club knows that it will not be able to compete with the European giants in terms of astronomical figures, so the operation can only materialize if the appropriate conditions are met. In this sense, one of the factors that could facilitate Fron's transfer is the possible departure of Ferran Torres, a player who has been linked to several transfer operations recently. Ferran Torres, who arrived at Barcelona with high expectations, has failed to find the expected regularity in the club. Although he has shown flashes of quality in some matches, his performance has not been as consistent as required for a player of his caliber. This has led some sectors within the club and among the supporters to question his future at Barcelona. In this context, Ferran Torres could become a key piece in a possible operation that would bring Fran to the Camp Nou. Bayern Leverkusen would be interested in incorporating Ferran Torres, which would open the door to a negotiation that could benefit both parties. Barcelona would secure the transfer of one of the most promising right-backs in Europe, while Ferran Torres would have the opportunity to find a new project where he could develop his talent more regularly, although the departure of Ferran is not simple, as he has great potential and many clubs could be interested in his transfer. Barcelona knows that this type of move is necessary to balance the finances and ensure the transfer of key players like Fran. The transfer of a fullback like Fran would not only be a solution to one of the team's gaps but would also represent a long-term strategic bet. At Barcelona, Hansi Flick's project is oriented towards building a team competitive both nationally and internationally. For this, a solid defense and a right-back capable of contributing both defensively and offensively are necessary. Fran, with his speed and dribbling ability, could be the missing piece for Barcelona to regain its place among the European elite. With all this in mind, an important question arises for the Cule supporters. Should Barcelona sacrifice Ferran Torres as part of the operation to sign Fran? This is not an easy decision for many. On the one hand, Ferran Torres has a lot of potential, and his departure could generate some mistrust in some sectors of the supporters. On the other hand, the transfer of Fran is an urgent need for the team, and the incorporation of a reliable right-back like him could be the boost Barcelona needs to regain its competitiveness in Europe. The debate is on. Is this the right time for Ferran Torres to leave Barcelona and for the club to bet on a reliable right-back like Fran? Or, on the contrary, should the club keep Ferran Torres and look for other alternatives in the market? The future of Barcelona and its squad largely depends on decisions like this one, which will have a significant impact on the team's performance in the coming seasons. Cule supporters, what do you think? Should Barcelona prioritize the transfer of Fran, even if it means the departure of Ferran Torres? Is this the move the team needs to continue growing? The third piece of news concerns a potential major transfer coup for Barcelona. The threat of Manchester City looms again over Spanish football, and this time with a target that hits close to home for Barca fans. From England, the club led by Pep Guardiola is preparing a direct and ambitious attack with a dual operation worth €180 million to secure the services of Rodrigo Goes and Dani Almo. While the figure of the Brazilian seems destined to make noise in Madrid, in Barcelona, the news that really shakes things up is the firm interest in Dani Almo, a footballer with a Cule identity, associative play, and a profile that perfectly matches what our style represents. This is not just another rumor in the market, it is a concrete threat, planned and backed by the economic muscle of one of the continent's giants. Manchester City does nothing by chance. Guardiola is convinced Dani Almo is the ideal name to lead the renovation of the midfield. With Kevin De Bruyne increasingly closer to the end of his cycle, the Catalan coach is looking for a creative profile with experience, game intelligence, and the ability to shine in key moments. And that's where Almo comes in, a player trained at La Masia, with that competitive gene that makes him a special footballer. It is evident that for Guardiola, this is not just a simple transfer. It is a personal bet, a thoughtful decision that involves aligning the sports project with a desire to return to a more combinative, cerebral style, less dependent on physicality. And that is precisely why it is so concerning at Can Barca. 4 years, Dani Almo has been in Barcelona's orbit, and not without reason. He is a player with a Cule past, with an absolute understanding of positional play, with competitive maturity that has led him to consolidate in German football and with performances that have placed him as one of the references of the Spanish national team. His profile fits the philosophy of Hansi Flick, who knows him well and has shown admiration for his tactical versatility. Dani can play as an interior midfielder, playmaker, or inverted winger. He has that spark that few players possess and an intelligence to read spaces that makes him indispensable in tight matches. And what will Barcelona do in the face of this scenario? This is the big question that socios, supporters, and all those who vibrate with the Blaugrana colors are asking themselves today. Because what is at stake is not just the continuity of a talented footballer, but a declaration of intent. Can a club like ours afford to see City take away a player who fits so well into our model? Isn't this the moment to close ranks, show our conviction, and strongly defend those who represent the DNA of Barca? It is understandable that the economic situation conditions many operations, but there are cases that demand a firm stance, even an institutional reaction. Dani Almo should not be for sale. It's not just about money, it's about football, identity, a vision of the game that goes beyond financial statements. How much is a player who can become a cornerstone of Flick's project really worth? Many will say that 80 million euros is a significant sum and that in the face of certain economic urgencies, some decisions may prove inevitable. But there are also moments when a great club must stand tall and protect its sporting heritage. Dani Olmo is not just another asset. He is a footballer who can mark an era at Camp Nou, who understands what it means to wear the Blaugrana jersey, and who has demonstrated through his actions his commitment to high-level football. Letting him go to a direct European rival like Manchester City would be a sign of weakness that we cannot afford. The English offensive is underway. British media are already announcing that City will do everything to close both operations before the start of the next season. Meanwhile, Barcelona has the opportunity to take a step forward. This is not the time to think about exit formulas or financial balances that would ultimately weaken the team. This is the time to be brave, support a coherent sports bet, and show the world that in Barcelona, we still protect what matters. There is an emotional connection with Almo that cannot be ignored. Not all players have this history, this natural affinity with the club. And when a profile like this comes along, the effort must be up to par. Wouldn't it be more logical to strengthen the project with figures who understand our football culture from the root? Isn't this the path that guarantees durability, identity, and excellence in the game? We know that Hansi Flick seeks to build a team with balance, control, and technical quality in all lines. Dani Olmo is a player who responds to this ideal. His continuity would not only add on a footballing level but would also send a clear message of ambition and commitment to a model. We cannot allow Guardiola to take away one of ours, because beyond individual talent, it is also a symbolic battle. Defending Olmo is defending a way of understanding football, a way that has led us to the top and still has much to offer. The Kuhl supporters have the right to raise their voices, to clearly say that there are players who should not be on the market, that some decisions, no matter how justified they may be economically, represent a much greater loss from the perspective of the sports project. What do the Barca fans think? Doesn't the club deserve to protect a footballer like Olmo, who represents so much in the present and future of the team? Manchester City may have the resources, the prestige of the Premier League, and the influence of a coach like Guardiola. But Barcelona has something more important: a history, a unique game model, and supporters who value the essence beyond the ephemeral spectacle. Dani Olmo is part of that essence, and we must fight for him to stay. The club's history is full of feats where greater obstacles have been overcome. This is one of those challenges. Keeping Olmo is a decision that transcends the contractual. It is a declaration of principles, because there are moments when you have to say stop, and this is undoubtedly one of them. And let's not fool ourselves, what City is looking for is not just talent, it is a footballing identity. Dani Olmo represents the Barca model, and that makes him a precious piece, not only for us but also for those who want to imitate our legacy. Now, more than ever, the club needs to hear its people. This is the time for unity, firmness, and ambition. Let it not be said that we did not see it coming. Let it not be said that we did not fight for what is ours. Dani Olmo must continue to wear the Blaugrana, not out of whim, but out of football justice, tactical logic, shared history, and everything he represents. And you, Kuhl, what do you think? Are we ready to allow City to snatch him from our hands? Give us your opinion in the comments.